is 6:01, and this is September the 22nd, Monday evening at 6 o'clock. And I want to welcome everyone, both in presence in the chamber as well as those who may be watching us online on YouTube and or on Facebook. We do have a quorum of the council. There is not a quorum as yet of the Economic Development Commission, but as they come in, they will be able to participate in the meeting. I just want you to understand we cannot interact with them. They cannot give information until there is a quorum. So first, before we begin, are there any public comments?
I have 3 people signed up to speak, but they want to wait until after the presentation begins in case they have questions, because it may be answered.
Okay, good. That would be great. And so just remind us when we're ready to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And so I would like to just open it by saying that we want to open this workshop with enthusiasm and anticipation, because as we in Trophy Club are embarking on the development of the town's last available site, this team up here comprises elected officials with over 30 years of combined service and a seasonal management team. Did you know there are 30 years of combined service to the town clerk that I'm sitting right here? So these workshops like this provide us an invaluable opportunity for us to exchange ideas freely and listen without judgment. Our goal is to make the very best decision for Trophy Club today and, most importantly, in the future. Today, we move forward, change takes us with it. This marks the second occasion that the Economic Development Commission and the Council have convened to discuss the concept leading us to the next steps. So this is not the first time that we've had the opportunity to meet with the EDC board, our council, our commission, and we will continue doing that. I just want to remind everybody this is not a night. Action will not be taken. Honestly, I just want to tell you, as an elected official, we don't have an opportunity to discuss as a team. You know, what we think, what we want, what's good, what's bad, without holding us completely accountable. This is like being a team meeting and you want to sit around the table and talk. What's your idea? What do you think? What do you think? We don't get to do that. Everything has to be on an agenda so that we cannot speak outside of that. So again, a workshop gives us a little bit of flexibility to communicate with each other and share our own personal issues, needs, and also what we want to see going forward. So I hope that we all bring our very best to this season of time, because again, we're opening a conversation, a discussion that will carry on for months to come. This is not a final decision night by any means. We're just getting started. So while change always meets resistance, always. But it's essential to remember that without change, there is no growth. We die. We stop changing. We stop growing. We stop moving along with the trends and what's happening in the world in which we live. So ultimately, without change, and without embracing it, we risk being left behind. So as we, again, talk tonight, we're talking about not only today, but the future of Trophy Club. This is the last site. This is the last opportunity to put a foothold in this particular region for Trophy Club, right here at this, I call it the HG Supply area. So here we are, and we're so happy you're here, and I know that we have guests here, and we look forward to hearing from everyone. We look forward to hearing from everybody on in the council and our management team. So I want to turn this over to Brandon, who will lead us through this discussion. Thank you.
All right, very good. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and 3 members of our EDC board. We look forward to getting the 4th member here soon and having you join in the conversation with us. So why are we here? Just a little bit of background as far as the purpose for our meeting tonight. So a couple of meetings ago, we had a discussion, on the agenda was set for the approval of the small area plan known as the Grove at TC for this area here. At that meeting, as we discussed that with the council, there were a number of ideas that were expressed during that meeting about alterations, changes to that plan, that ultimately we needed to spend some time together, as the mayor was saying, right? Really discussing what is the desired future for this particular area, what particular uses are desired or not desired for this Grove at TC, and how is it that we need to change the small area plan document in order to incorporate those changes that it can be successfully adopted by the council. And why is that important? Well, because we would like to talk to developers and those who are interested in building on those properties about what it is that could be the vision for that area. In order to do that, we want to make sure that we have good, strong council buy-in to that project and an ability for them to be able to feel some level of comfort for the future success if they stay within the confines of that plan. So as we get started, first of all, this has not been just a couple-week conversation for us. Actually, this conversation has been going on for a year. We started off the year with this as one of our business plan goals for the year. It is goal number 5, and that objective was to redevelop and create successful business areas, fostering a unique sense of place, specifically with the initiative of creating this small area plan, the Grove at TC, in this area around State Highway 114. All right, so vision statement, we worked with the Economic Development Corporation when we first began this process and developed a vision statement for this area. And that is that the Grove at TC is a welcoming and vibrant hub where residents and visitors come together to enjoy Trophy Club's prosperity. All right, so high-level vision, that's what we had envisioned for the area as we continue to grow that. And there were a couple of guiding principles that were also established at that point. Creating a welcoming and vibrant hub, creating a thoughtful and integrated development, enhancing connectivity and accessibility, creating a signature public amenity and community gathering space, and then maximize the economic impact and branding, right? So those were the 5 main guiding principles by which we worked, and that really came from feedback from the Economic Development Corporation, from the town council itself, but also from many of our residents that joined in on land surveys and opportunities to come in and talk with us during workshop charrettes. All right, so key themes that came through from the community engagement. First of all, in the area of community space, right? Provide a chance for people to socialize, form friendships, and discover common ground. In the area of connectivity, enhancing interconnected public realms through integrated multimodal transportation, walkable pathways, and efficient mobility networks. And then the idea of thriving businesses, okay? Creating a dynamic and well-connected area where a diverse range of businesses can grow. So if you take those 3 big areas, right? Community space, connectivity, and thriving businesses, that's the vision for this area here for it. And I know we got kind of a little bit sidetracked last time talking about a lot about residential uses, but remember that the 3 constant themes were community space, connectivity, and thriving businesses. That was the idea for this particular area. So I'll share with you a little bit from the plan document itself, the Grove at TC on page 10. It talks about the plan options, and these are literally just cutouts from the plan here, but I'll just read them quickly for your reference. Okay, so about the idea of plan options. It says the proposed land use envisions a dynamic mixed-use development that includes residential, commercial, office, and entertainment components. The area already features a variety of uses, and building upon this foundation will help create a more cohesive and vibrant district. And then on the idea about the options, it says choice and flexibility emerged as the most significant takeaways from the meeting with the Economic Development Corporation and the Town Council. Both groups emphasized the importance of ensuring that the plan remains adaptable, allowing developers the flexibility to respond to market conditions and site-specific opportunities as they arise. In response, the final plan adopted a more diagrammatic, there you go, and framework-based approach, offering a range of development scenarios rather than prescribing a fixed layout. These options explored elements such as open space configurations, building compositions, and vehicular and pedestrian circulation. This approach provides guidance while maintaining adaptability to support phased development and evolving community needs. So the idea from the plan, right, was that it was to be a flexible plan. They were giving these site layouts as kind of a design framework to work under, showing how all these elements might be able to work together within an area without saying that there's a specific layout that has to be adopted or prescribed to in the Grove at TC small area plan. All right, we're familiar with the way that the area currently is laid out, but it has residential, it has commercial and retail, it has hotels, it has civic spaces, and it has medical offices, all in the current zone as it exists today. Those are current site characteristics. All right, and so when it came to adopting a preferred site layout, when we had the Joint Economic Development Corporation and Town Council workshop, this was the one that emerged as the preferred site layout for that, and then I'll cover some details here, but this is a vision of that particular area. And this specifically was the development plan along with that. Okay, so that development plan included vertical mixed-use development, right? So, and just to make sure that we're all talking the same language here, vertical meaning height, right? So more than one story, mixed-use development, things like residential, commercial, office spaces, also that entertainment use was also referenced as well, right? All within the same building. So having buildings that could be used in a flexible variety for multiple uses. Talked about the importance of supporting infrastructure. Okay, so taking a look at the roadway connections and really creating more vehicular connectivity behind State Highway 114 along Trophywood Drive. So there would be opportunities for cars to go essentially east to west, right, in that area that would be different from using State Highway 114. Creating sidewalks that are connected, trails for not only people to walk, but also for golf carts use and things like that. On-street parking opportunities, green spaces, shade trees, and giving it a sense of arrival, right? In addition to that, the development plan includes area parking, so shared parking arrangements, and that being parking ramps where possible to be able to accommodate a greater density, more activity within a certain area, less land dedicated to open parking area, right, using it more for developable property. What that does is it provides more opportunities for tax base, right, property taxes, sales taxes, and all those different things that come along with that. And as you can see in the development plan itself, you have kind of call-out boxes. So while there is a general site layout that was given, the idea is, well, this can be adapted to many different ways. You can have this be one building, multiple buildings. Could be where this is where you can put some green space and things like that to be able to kind of bring all of those elements together, all within the small area plan area. All right. But it's also important to realize what the development plan does not include, okay? So it does not include things like building heights, right? Building heights are, and I think we talked about this a little bit during the last meeting, right? Building heights are something you do during a zoning meeting, right? Where you'd be considering actual development opportunities that would be coming into the property for it. So the plan itself right now is silent on the idea of building heights. In other words, those are something to be decided when developers come forward. I think everyone is very interested in ensuring that the properties behind are as minimally impacted as possible by the development. That being said, right, most developments here are going to require some level of height. Question is at what level and how far away from those residents are we able to set things to be able to best accommodate some version of distance between the residents who live there and then the new commercial development that happens in front of it. It also does not include pure residential developments, right? That's nowhere in the plan, the idea of having a pure residential development. So the idea here is that you have mixed uses all working together to be able to maximize the opportunity for these spaces. Building layouts, right? Options are given to show how they can be incorporated into the final plan with all the things like the roadways and the green spaces and things like that. However, it's not saying this is how the site has to look when it's all done. And as always comes up, right, stormwater plans, that's not part of this either, right? That'll be part of our development codes that we have related to how the area is developed and how it is that water is ultimately moved away from that area. This is a much higher level document that does not incorporate those types of elements. All of those, because of the fact that the town owns those properties, right? We own two of the properties on here that are undeveloped. That's a tremendous advantage to us right now because in most situations, we are stuck worrying about zoning. All right, so someone else owns the property, they might be using it in a certain way. When we own the property, we ultimately have to convey that land to someone else. That gives us a lot of control over exactly what we want and exactly how it is laid out in order for it to be very specific for that. It can be tied to development agreements that ultimately get us, we can go down to materiality, you can get down to heights of buildings and things like that. All of that can be very specific based on development plans that are brought forward from the private sector. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the Grove at TC, and the real question is, and it becomes, what are we looking for as desired changes within the plan as it's laid out today? For that, because ultimately I want to bring forward a document, right, that the town council can go ahead and adopt, with that, something that gives us strong support of the town council, because if a document only is approved 4-3, the development world probably will not respond well to it, on that, not knowing what that future looks like. We want something that can be strongly supported by the council, so that it can be strongly marketed to the private sector, and ultimately we can bring about change to this area to get us to the very thing we started with, which was we were trying to create an area, right, that creates a vibrant hub, an opportunity for, for visitors and residents to come together to, to really use Trophy Club as a place for them to create a welcoming hub where people come together to enjoy all the different uses that come into that area. So I'm going to go ahead and pause at this point, right, for us to engage in the conversation of looking at these uses, right? We've talked about some of the concepts here. So vertical mixed use, the supporting infrastructure, and shared parking arrangements. Okay, all of those elements for it. Are there things that are in the current plan? In fact, it might even be best to start off with what are the things we like about the current plan, and then let's talk about the things that we would like to see different in that plan, and we can begin kind of, figuring out, do we have the right mix here of those things? So, Meryl, I'll turn it back over to you, but I think starting off with the question of what do we kind of like about the current plan, and then moving into what are things that we wanted to see kind of different from that, I think would be a very helpful conversation, so we know what things are strong keepers and which items are things that might need to go.
However, before we do that, may I ask you for clarification for this council and for others, because there is a piece in this site plan that kind of makes it challenging, and that is the parking designation to HG Supply. I would like for you to clearly explain why we're looking at all those parking places out there, which is a critical space for this whole site.
Yep, yeah, so the parking lot that is right next to HG Supply, the one that's the asphalt lot that is currently there, is on town-owned property. The Economic Development Corporation actually owns that property for it. The reason that the parking lot is on that property is to help meet the parking requirements of the HG Supply building that's next to it. When it was built on site, it doesn't have sufficient parking, so it requires off-site parking to be able to accommodate its parking need for that. That's why the property is there. It is encumbered. That parking arrangement is encumbered on that property, on the property that we own, meaning that it must, in perpetuity moving forward, provide the spaces that are available to help meet HG Supply's parking requirement on their building, right? So whatever we do to that area there has to be, and I believe it's roughly 190 spaces or so, there have to be about 190 spaces that are maintained in that part specifically for the use of the HG Supply property as we move forward. Okay, so that is it's an element that brings into that property you have to really work with the person who's going to develop that property, right? To be able to figure out how do we work this all together to be able to accommodate the new need with the existing need of the 190 parking spaces.
Okay, thank you very much, and I think that's an important consideration as we begin looking at this, because any developer that comes in and looks at it, it's going to it's going to require some challenges to overcome no matter what they do.
Absolutely.
And as you see on the concept plan, there are various different suggestions as to where you could put parking, and it may not necessarily be right next to HG Supply, so then that creates a whole new can of worms, because then somebody's going to have parking way over here, and they're going over here to go to dinner. But y'all, I want you to know, the result of not having a site plan before you go in there and start building buildings on a place. Because we now have restaurants out there and this town hall here, and none of it's integrated into a full operating site. So with that in mind, I think we need to be aware of that, and how do we make this work to be the very best place we can have. So that's my comment, and the rest of y'all could go for it. Anybody want to open up with a comment? Steve?
So I guess, Brandon, I'll answer your question about what do I like and, are there things that I don't like?
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to stay away from the things I don't like because the things that I like in the plan are specific enough to give a developer direction so that they can go off and, we're on, the way I look at it, we're on step 2 of 27. We are way early in the process, but yet we have to give something to a developer to get interest. I think this accomplishes that without tying their hands on, you need to do this, it has to have that. So I like being detailed enough to get going, and we need to get going, but yet general enough to let them do what they do best, which is development.
I'll make it real simple. I think Steve's on the right track. To me, the only two primary concerns with what we have here are the ones that I talked about when we all got together back in February. One is the multifamily, and the other is that we have building footprints that are only going to serve to confuse people. A developer that can spell their own name doesn't need to see buildings laid out. Their job is to look at a site and lay out buildings. They don't need that. It's only going to confuse the messaging to the public. It doesn't serve any other purpose. And also, I would say that no matter what we put in this plan, if a developer sees an economic opportunity, they're going to come to us with a concept no matter what's on this plan. I mean, we've seen it in all of our residential developments. I mean, the one out there by the dog park, I mean, what's being built now is fine, but when I was on P&Z in 2021 and 22, I mean, the same group came like 3 times and asked for the same thing. We told them no the same way 3 times. If people find a way to make money, they will be persistent with their idea. So I'm not as worried about the deep details. The bones are what matters, and we have the bones. So I think that's the most important thing. And we kind of have to roll it out there with the structure and let the economic opportunity eventually bring the right people to the table.
And I do agree with him. If a builder sees this as an economic advantage, they will do what they have to do to make it happen. And I think that's what they're also saying is leaving it open enough to allow that to happen so that they can be creative about this to participate. Hi, Greg. You may come. There's a seat up here for you. Now
I just told a story you would have appreciated.
yeah,
You were there.
Yeah, you missed being highlighted, Greg. Yeah, but we don't have time to hear it again, so.
I'll just have to tell me later.
No,
In
I'm
the
just
interest
kidding.
of brevity, we'll be
But
moving along.
by you coming, we have now opened the quorum of the commission, so you may speak.
They need to do a call to order.
Yeah, do we want to do a call to order?
Does it count as a meeting? Like if they're posted a meeting?
No,
So you are called to order at 6:24 p.m.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give you the gavel at 6:24, Greg. Sit down. Okay, so we have just had a presentation. You can look at it. So others, Dennis, you want to talk about your likes or?
Well, the original plan was PD 25, I think it was, and there was a plan, but it was done in the culture, in the moment, many years ago. And that created zoning, and it needs to be updated, and that's what we're trying to do. I'll make it real brief. Delete the word residential, take multi-use, take public amenities out, and I'll consider it.
What's public amenities?
I disagree with the idea of putting any public, let's see.
Green space?
Yeah,
Trails,
the signature public amenity. There's plenty of places in town for that to take up the 2-acre and the 5-acre, the last commercial tracts that we have.
Okay.
Well, just to clarify, the public amenity here that is referred to in the plan is talking about more open green space on
I
that part. So-
understand, but
so
okay. I'm trying to understand it as hopefully 3 or 4 councils from now, many years from now, are going to read this. And it doesn't say green space.
It does.
Well,
Several times.
okay. I'm talking about that one.
That
Okay.
one page.
That one page and that one
In
thing.
the guiding principles.
In the
section.
guiding
Right.
principle of it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so,
Okay.
okay.
Other comment?
No, I agree with Dennis.
What do you agree with him on?
I agree with the multi-use. The parking I'm going to struggle with. The parking I'm going to struggle with just because, I mean, I don't know how we're going to get that much parking in that small of a space, you know, using surface parking. So it's just going to be interesting. So,
You're gonna have to go vertical.
Yeah.
well,
But
and then
this
that,
is, but
Very expensive.
this is
Yeah.
not the place that,
We're not talking about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
weeds right now, we're
Yeah.
talking about the concept. So what I'd like to do is to offer it up to the board out there, because I give you all great respect, because you've been at this for 9 or 10 months. You've listened to the consultants and so forth, so you clearly have some thought and perspective on this. So I think you were asked today, is that correct, to share with us an element that you would consider to be a critical success factor going forward with this concept? And y'all just go down.
Sure, why not? So when we initially embarked upon this with McAdams, actually prior to even selecting McAdams, we really wanted to please our residents. So community engagement was something that was extremely important to us, okay, the whole board, and also staff. So we spent a significant amount of time making sure that community engagement really drove this plan. And we spent literally weeks doing that, speaking to property owners, having open houses, visiting businesses, visiting people, and having a online engagement, which I think we had staggering response to. What was it, like 400 or 500?
About 500 something.
Yeah, responses. And once we selected McAdams, which I think was a good idea, they worked very hard on making that community engagement the crux of this plan. Now, one thing we had to keep reminding them, okay, because they wanted to produce a plan that we could take and run out and sell to somebody and say, you know, here's our backing, and, you know, you come in and develop this property. And we kept reminding them, this is a long-range plan. This is a plan which, quite frankly, in the past, and Jeanette, I think, Mayor, you said it earlier, if we don't have a plan, it'll just be ad hoc development, and we can't afford that here. And times are different now. If you look at this corridor here, and if you look at what's being built to the east of us, okay, we have a high-end steakhouse going in within walking distance of this building, okay? East of that, you have another set of businesses that are happening. We have, some people on the board are very familiar with what's going on across the street at Entrada, okay? So I think we have a great opportunity. And the thing that frustrates me the most is we spent a year plus on this, and it is a long-range plan. And quite frankly, and I'm really tuned into listening to what the negatives, but I also want to hear what the positives are, because there are, from my perspective, a lot of positives in the plan. Critical success factor, okay? I think the fact that we have a plan is a critical success factor. If we don't have a plan, we're flying by the seat of our pants, and decisions can be made based on a number of people in the room. And that's not the right way to do it. Okay, we had 500-plus responses to the online engagement. We had, I don't know how many, probably had 40, 50
About
people.
20,
20 per session though, right?
yeah, I can't remember.
We had many people come in, and we had posters, and we were talking about all the different elements of the plan. And we developed it based on the feedback from the community. So I think that community engagement is extremely important, and the critical success factor is that we have a plan.
Okay. Any thoughts, Greg?
100% agreement with that one. As far as just an element of the development itself, I think Dennis and I very much agree on the mixed use aspect of it, but not making, I want to make sure that there's no rentals going in there. If you're going to do a mixed use, I would prefer that you do your retail on the bottom, but high-end for sale condos on top, where you're actually coming in, like, again, a lot across the street. That's my one element I would like to see. I just don't want to see, you know, that turn into kind of another rental apartment type area, because I think that would drive costs down.
Okay. Okay. And you have experience with this?
A little bit,
Okay,
yep,
thank you.
yep, a little bit.
James?
And can we not pursue that? Because this is a plan that we're putting together now? We can limit that?
You can, yeah, and especially, normally and sometimes in just regular zoning, it kind of gets you in trouble, right? Because we own the vacant properties right now, you have a lot of control over whether or not it is owner occupied or not because of that element.
And I would want to limit, because from an economic development standpoint, this is basically our last chance as a town to have commercial tax dollars coming in. And so limiting a little bit more of the green space or park area, I think in favor of a little bit more commercial would just do great for the tax income for the town. So I know the green space is great, everybody loves it, it looks pretty, but it brings in no money for a town, and commercial dollars are what brings in all the money. So I kind of want to possibly look at limiting as much of that as we can.
Interesting, okay.
Sounds terrible.
James, do you have,
Yeah, I guess I kind of disagree with my friend here.
isn't it fun?
Which one?
This,
That's fine.
I didn't consider TrophyClub to be, tax hungry, but then again, I don't have the books that y'all do, so I consider this piece of property the last community property that we could add. Not that we're gonna go full-on park, but just to keep that in mind, that we do want to involve the community in this space, and that, some of the things that we've put into the plan is based around that. And for me, the high-end mixed use, that makes sense for me. But I think we do need those residents on property to activate the space. And so that activation is kind of what I'm keen in on.
Okay. Scott, you have anything?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is essentially us creating an RFP. We're going out to the marketplace and trying to paint a picture for developers to say, this is the art of the possible, without limiting them, so I think some people have said that well. But it's not meant to be, here's exactly what's gonna happen, these are exactly what we're gonna do with road. We're not doing any of that here. We're just basically creating a marketing document to say, hey, come and make a proposal to us. And so what I heard from our third-party consultant was the number one word that really resonated with me was, we're trying to create vibrancy. And I think that's what a developer is going to be looking for, is can they believe that this creates vibrancy, and what elements are required to do that? And they're gonna tell us better than we know, but that's why I hear what you're saying about the green space, but if a developer says, hey, that's necessary to create the vibrancy, we know we can't put commercial in every square inch of the space. So I would be open to hearing from a developer about, what is needed to create that vibrancy. Part of the proposal was, there was a belief that you needed to have some residential there to create that. Maybe you don't. But I would also say, if it's clear that when a developer comes knocking that there's something that is just not on the table, then just make it clear from the outset, rather than frustrate them with having to come in and try to bang their head against the wall with wanting to do something like residential, if that's not in the cards.
I completely agree with
Your
that. Like,
comments?
you let the developer dictate what they kind of want to do. This is just a guidance of what the town kind of is looking for, but
Okay.
the developer's got to come in and go, all right, what's the ROI on this? Like, I'm with you too, I don't want every inch of it to be commercial, right? It's a hybrid approach where we definitely need some kind of little bit of green space. I just don't want to make it too much, because then any developer's going to go, if this is the plan, I'm out, because I can't see my ROI in this. There's not enough return on my capital in order to do this, if this is going to be open green space for people to play. That's what my point. I just think we need to make sure on a hybrid, not all, like, every inch commercial, but just be careful, because if you're going to attract the developers, it's financially got to be very appealing to them.
But I don't think, and again, I don't think we have to be that specific.
Right.
Okay?
Agreed.
One of the cool parts of this, and I've been involved for a couple of terms here, is listening to the proposals
Right,
from
exactly.
developers, okay?
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's, and to Scott's point, we're developing a request for information from developers, right? We're giving them some guidelines. This is what our intent is. Give us a proposal based on our intent and based on your ROI.
Couldn't agree more. So they're 100%, you get their feedback, and this is just like somewhat of a guideline.
Right.
But then they're going to dictate what they really want.
And you all have the opportunity to debate it with them, to negotiate with them. P and Z gets involved because of planning and zoning, right? You know, if we don't want four-story buildings, we don't have to say, yes, we'll allow four-story buildings. If we don't want residential, we can say, you have to do it all, but no residential.
Yeah, and you guys might be involved too, because they may be looking for incentives.
That's
coming
why we
from-
sit here.
So
Yep.
it's both, I mean, it becomes a multi-point thing. Sorry, Dennis, I didn't want to jump
No,
in on
that's
what
right.
you were
Go
going to
ahead.
say.
Now, I understand from, kind of piggybacking on that you, Brandon, have had a little bit of discussion with various people and developers. What's kind of the top line as you present this concept as it is? Any feedback from developers in there, something that's of interest?
Yeah, so far the feedback is that they're excited that the council is going to put forward an idea that they can take and make their own for it. So that seems to be the level of excitement. They all have versions of what they would do with it, but learning up front that, wait, that's not what we're looking for, right? We're looking for something like this. They say, that's great, we want to see that plan. We believe we have a part in that plan as well for it. So I know there is interest. I think there is some anticipation of having something that they can say has the support of the council, that they know that if they, you know, it gives them a high likelihood that if they come and talk to you about it, that it's something that you might be open to accepting.
Yes, sir.
My thought was to create a plan that allows EDC to become more aggressive in seeking out developers. My thought is that I don't want any residential in there because I want you talking to commercial developers. This is not zoning, it's an idea, it's a comprehensive land plan, so therefore it's subject to whoever you would bring in to play. Since I was a previous retired developer maybe 20 years ago, but at the same time, no one's going to touch us as long as we're talking about a plan. It's once we're done with it, then I think we'll get somebody in, okay?
You're right.
And if somebody has an idea that we haven't talked about, well, that's part of it. So that's where my mind's at. Put a sign out there for sale, CEDC. You give EDC something to
Open for
take
business.
to the NATCAR or to one of the other expos, set up a table and say, hey, come to Trophy Club. That's where my mind's at, okay? So, and you're right. Who knows what open space, whatever, that we're not setting that criteria. We're not doing a PD type thing, but I am trying to limit the focus to be a little bit more aggressive. So that's a lot of where I'm coming from.
Okay. You had,
Right, I just took notes as we were all talking. And I'll start by piggybacking on what Dennis just said. I think the important thing is, because, you know, James, you touched on it, Scott, you touched on it too, is that we make sure that the plan articulates that we are looking for a development that will provide for some level of community presence and space, but that it's in the context of the development, right? It's not necessarily a headline front page, this is the stalwart, you know, large part of the acreage dedicated to some public space, but more that it's in the context. Not unlike the open space that was in the picture that is over in PD 30 that was a few ago. I mean, that's a small picture of a bigger piece, right, where there's, you know, there's room for a bandstand, there's room for people to gather, things like that. And to Scott's point, the developer when they brought the site plan before that got built in 2015, they had some sort of concept, but we got that because they came to the table and we had a conversation with them at that time that basically said, here's what we're thinking for that kind of space, and that's how we got there. So we do have evidence right down the street that it can happen that way, and it wasn't a big headline that says this development exists to create a community space. The headline was the development's the development, right? So yeah, we just need to maybe, you know, I think Dennis makes a good point. We want to make sure our priorities are clear relative to what we're trying to do. We don't want to over dedicate limited space, but it's going to be it will exist in the context of the development. And I think when I see what's here, I feel like it's reasonable in the drawing, so that's good. I agree with what you mentioned, Greg. I think when we talk about residential, we need to just be specific that it's that particular type of residential pattern. If it's going to be there, that's going to be the type of development that the town would be able to get behind. We talked about parking. It's always been known that 5 acres that HG has a part of, that if we were to achieve density there, we'd need to do something creative with the parking. So structured parking has to be on the table. We've just got to be real sensitive about how big, how much, and how does it impact the neighbors. If somebody comes to the table with that idea, we've got to be sensitive to it.
And get a developer to pay for it.
Well, yeah. And yeah, that's it. And I appreciate what you said, Joe. The most important thing is we have a plan and that we say we're open for business, and less specific is better. So appreciate all y'all's comments.
So what I just heard is a plan with no pictures.
It sounds like, yeah, maybe, yeah,
that's-
right? I don't disagree.
sad.
Maybe one nice little drawing that's very bland. Yeah.
Nice.
The positive of this, the positive is it brings up the issue of parking, which is a big, gigantic issue. And I'd like to, even though it's not part of this plan, but at least put the seed of thought into the EDC and council. We need to start using EDC money in a savings account so that when it comes to being an incentive, the incentive's not to, I'm not the way I say this, the incentive's not to get the developer an extra dollar. The incentive is to be able to get like parking put together. And so we can contribute to that, because a commercial developer may not be really interested in doing a high-rise parking. So I'd like the thought, the seed.
Yeah, you gotta have.
We start and we're not just talking a couple 100,000, we're talking a few million that we need to start saving. Thank you.
You know what, I would like to share something with you that as I am in this position that I'm in, I meet many, many people in Trophy Club, and I meet people outside of Trophy Club, and it's always, I want to live in Trophy Club. I want to live in Trophy Club. People want to live in Trophy Club. So my question to you, what is the product that Trophy Club has to sell to those outside of us? Do they come here to eat? Probably not. If I decide to go eat, I go this way or that way mostly. Do I come here to shop? Not really. What do I come here to do?
The enclave.
To
To
live.
live. Therefore, when we talk about mixed use on this last bit of property, it would be shameful for us not to keep our eyes open to the possibility of mixed use, allowing people to move into Trophy Club at a level at which they can enter Trophy Club and then move into a large house out to Greg's place or something. But but my point is this. I happen to know that if I go around Trophy Club, other mayors and so forth, they say, Mayor, you're a community of living. I said, yeah, and we love it. So that is our kind of position in this region, is a high-quality place to live that I can call home and community. And I guarantee you, you go outside this across the street and people say, I want to live in Trophy Club. I have young people saving their money so they can live in Trophy Club. So they start the Bevan, by the way, which is a very wonderful place to start. It happens to be in Trophy Club, has to be an apartment. But you know what? I know a lot of people at Bevan. Some of them moved from Vaquero to live in Bevan, and so forth and so on. So I'm just trying to express to you to keep an open mind as we talk about this, to make this be what it needs to be today and for tomorrow, because most of us sitting here today will not be here 20 years from now. Most, many of you will, but not me. So, but just keep it open. And let's hear from developers who want to invest in Trophy Club. And by the way, people want to invest in Trophy Club. I was somewhere the other night. He gave me a card. Here's my card, Mayor. They want to invest in Trophy Club. That's my spiel. Just remember, our product in Trophy Club is to live. And we want our attorney to move to Trophy Club. He keeps trying to find a house. He can't find it, but he's going to move here. So it's a wonderful place to call home. And I think the people that we attract make it continue and will live on in the future. Thank you.
Mayor, can I make maybe one final comment? I know we have some questions, we have some residents that want to speak. What I've listened to everybody say, Ryland is writing it down and taking notes, I got it in the vault up here.
He's
But
smarter than I am.
It's two words that I think we're all struggling with, or we need to get over, the word residential, because if we absolutely take that out, that's going to have I think, a negative impact, and mixed use. So we have to send a clear message. Brandon talked about that. To me, even leaving the word residential in there as a must, doesn't mean we're going to end up that way. We may not end up with any of it. But, let's leave it in there. So that's my thoughts.
Other comments?
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff?
My only thought is I want the development to be cohesive with the area, and that's it. I mean, mixed use, the residential, I just want it to pull in everything that's there existing and enhance it with that development.
I was just going to say, Steve, I think you're right on the money. I just think we've got to be abundantly clear that mixed use doesn't mean multifamily. That's just,
Well, what,
That's
Yeah.
well, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but that's not, when people see it, if you don't explicitly say that's not what it is,
right.
that's what they're going to jump to. And we all know it's also the most lucrative. So we've got to make sure when we are open for business that people understand we're open for business, but not for multifamily.
Yeah, and that can be absolutely clarified in the plan.
Yeah,
We
it's-
can add that element. in.
Yeah, we're going to have
Very
to
simple.
have that very clear in writing because it's imperative from the from the current residents we have. That's been public opinion for decades.
And so when you think about mixed, even the condominiums that are being built right across the street, you notice them? They're really nice, and they're very expensive. And so when we think about something like this incorporated into who we can be, it's something like that. It's a place, a home again, where somebody can come in and move into Trophy Club and be in our town. Other comments, questions? EDC board, do you have anything else to say? No? So what do we do from here,
Can I-
Mr.?
Maybe I'll summarize, and we do need to hear from public
Yes, I'm
comments as
sorry,
well.
yes.
But let me summarize where I think there is alignment on this topic, which is essentially limiting, the word residential is kind of a lightning rod word, right? So limiting residential to being a component that would need to be owner-occupied, right? So owner-occupied, if they're to be offered up as part of the mixed-use development concept, it must be owner-occupied in that area. The other part about the green space, right, that having green space for the sake of green space is not the intent of the plan, right? Having green space that is functional and usable within a development would be the preferred version of it. Something that does not overdo the green space, but thoughtfully kind of integrates that into any other commercial use. And I think we kind of want to tie it into more of a commercial element, not necessarily more of a residential element of it. In other words, its intent is to drive the commercial business there for it. So from what I've heard, I think those two switches kind of get us to where we probably have alignment on it. I'd like your feedback on that, and then we can probably get the public's feedback.
Okay, good. And again, we do not take action tonight, but I did kind of look down here, and people's heads are nodding up and down, so it gives us a sense of where we're going. So, Tammy, would you like to invite people to?
Richard Beatty?
All right. Richard Beatty, I've been here many times. I know you guys here, and nice to see you guys for once. What was put up?
Address,
put up-
please.
Oh, yes, sir.
18 Hillcrest, I'll walk right up to the chart and show you, I'm right along the green lines
I know
over there.
you are. We're glad to see you.
One thing that's a side note, I don't know if this is my 2 minutes or what, but everybody keeps referring to this thing that happened about a year and a half ago on what we wanted in the Trophy Club, what was going to be built. Well, my back property, faces that area. I was never informed about it at all. And my neighbors, even on the whole street of 18 Hillcrest, or of Hillcrest Court, we were never informed. We talked to other people that were all along that strip, and it seems like they were never you know, I would be happy to give you my telephone number, and when you guys have got ideas, you give me a call, and I'll tell you where the water runs down to that place, where, you know, what the sight lines are on the house and everything, and that would be terrific, you know. So, anyway, okay, real quick notes, okay. Most of the residents want to have the least impact on the established houses that are there, and I think everybody realizes that. When you talked about vibrancy before, the only thing I could think of in the Trophy Club that has vibrancy is either the golf club or any of the restaurants that are around. So is that sort of what you're thinking of with vibrancy? You know, or, you know, are you thinking of putting a, you know, building where you're going to have like jazz bands or something playing there or something, you know, or?
Okay, I'm sorry, you need to speak to us and not the.
Oh, okay.
Well, I
all
mean,
right,
they
okay.
are,
Well,
they
were
are in
they're-
session, so
okay,
you
I'll-
can address them.
Oh,
I mean, they're in
okay, well, I'll get the
session
rest
too.
one.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
not-
Dennis pointed out, no apartments or high-end condos. We would really like to have single-story, at least all the residents along that line would really like to have single-story right next to our established houses. Past that is fine. I know, the Mayor, you went and brought up the 5 or 6 new houses that are going in.
Right over here, I think.
Yeah, we're over
That way.
and there's actually, remember, there's a driveway in between, and there are trees and everything else. So it isn't right up next against the property. So there is a setback. So that way, if you are going to build something like that, it's going to be, you know, not right on our property lines. Most of us like the idea of a walking around area. I think that's great, to be able to walk into areas and you know, having, well, green belts or wherever they call those things now, I think are really a good idea. I'm looking at the development. Is it more effective to be like in a horseshoe shape, where you've got stuff, you know, going around in a horseshoe, and then the center area would be for parking or for established green areas, which you were talking about before, Dennis, or, you know, that's what I was wondering, you know. There's my 2 minutes? Okay. Also, I just had one question real quick. How close can we build next to 114? Do you know? Like, is there a,
I don't know.
you know?
Yeah, there's usually, you have your state of Texas, TxDOT right-of-way, then there's also Texas Power and Light right-of-way, where if you see where the big power lines are. So those two
Okay.
things dictate, that you can eyeball it just by looking at that.
Okay, and Jeff, you brought out a good idea for cohesive with the rest of the Trophy Club. Well, most of the stuff around the Trophy Club is all single-story. Just to let you know, there are very few places that have multiple stories. They're all single stories, so that's something to think about. That's it.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Thank you.
Jan Beatty?
Jan? Yeah, she's here. Come on. Would you come to the microphone, please, Jan? Thank you, and give us your address. Thank you.
Jan Beatty, 18 Hillcrest Court.
Oh, good, thank you.
Hello, everyone. How much money do we make off of those condos? That was a big chunk area.
Which condos are you speaking of?
The condos or whatever they're building over here, the
Seven
nice,
across over here.
yes. How much money did we make on that?
Well-
And are we going to get that money every time? I
That
mean,
was-
I know
that
that the
was private
contractor
property.
bought it, but are we getting more money out of that?
Jan, that was private property.
private
Yeah.
That would
Right.
not be part of the EDC, so the only thing we'd get out of that would be property
Property
taxes.
tax, yeah.
That's what I thought. So all this, the other area, like behind your, the offices here, is that private property too?
The only thing that the town owns at this time would be the 5 acres behind you and the 2 acres in front of the town hall.
Okay, and the
That's
last
it. The rest
question.
is all privately owned.
Yeah, but in terms of generating revenue, sales tax, commercial businesses would generate more revenue
course.
due to sales tax in addition to the property tax. And if it's not commercial, the revenue we would see would be just from property tax generally. I mean, in a
Exactly.
big picture, yeah.
Sorry, I had one other thing. Oh, where's the steakhouse, the high-end steakhouse going
It's
to
going to
be?
be right over there on the other side of Kirkwood and
Right across the street,
114,
yeah.
in front of the Marriott Hotel.
Okay,
me.
so we're talking all the way down there.
No, around the corner. Golf cart
In front
ride.
of the-
You could get on a golf cart and
In
go
front of the
underneath.
Marriott?
No, it's going to be right?
Opposite
Yeah.
Verispace.
Verispace. You go
Verispace.
under the
Okay.
freeway to the Marriott.
Thank you very much.
Others?
Gloria or Mike Evans?
Oh, good.
Hi. How are y'all today?
Great.
I'm 20 Hillcrest, Michael Evans. Yeah, I've been here before. Y'all probably remember me.
We do, we do.
I would like to ask these gentlemen over here a question.
Oh, this should-
Is this, are y'all elected or you're a paid position?
They're appointed.
You're volunteers? I wish I would have known about this committee. I would like to be a part of it. How do I get involved?
Well, we advertise every year, and there've been application requests on the board for about 6 months
Okay.
for applicants.
I didn't know, probably I didn't know what that was, this board of committee here, these folks. I didn't know what that was, and
Okay,
I
good.
probably would have joined
Great,
it.
it's a great,
Because I'm also affected,
it's great.
like directly by this green area. In fact, I think you ought to make it like a wildlife refuge. There's roadrunners back there. There's all kinds of birds and, animals and stuff that run back there. I promise you, I know. And, I think it ought to be looked at, to be honest with you. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I know that there needs to be something done there with, to make more revenue on taxes and things like that. Right here in front, probably be a great place to put a 3-story condo with some retail underneath it and all that stuff. But I just don't want that looking into my backyard. There's not a fence big enough that can control that. And I also know that there's several places here in Trophy Club that are for lease at this point. I know we're talking 5, 10 years down the road with this, but at least there is places for lease right now, currently vacant. So what's the plan on getting people in those spots before you break ground on something different?
That's,
I mean, is it valid or not?
we can't really interact with you that much, I don't think. Are we?
Oh,
is
we
this
can
open?
speak. I mean,
talk.
we can
Okay.
talk, as long as it's
we can
germane,
talk.
as long as
I
it's
thought those
germane to the agenda item. As
Okay,
long
I'm
as it's
going.
about
I'm going
economic
to
development
speak-
in this
I will
area.
speak to that then, people. We have real estate agents all over selling and leasing that's not our job. Our
Gotcha.
job is to provide an environment where people want to live and thrive and have family, and that is why we exist, to support that, maintain it, and grow it, and keep it vibrant.
I guess, to follow up on what you just said with the businesses and stuff like that, an area that wasn't affected as much by residential as that little space behind my house would have been over there by the Beaven. Instead of putting in retail shops there, they could have been 4-story apartment buildings like the Beaven. So why wasn't that considered at that point?
That's the past.
Yeah, I know.
Let's
I know it's the
focus on
past.
the future.
I'm trying to
What-
focus on the future as
What we
well.
have control of right now is this moment, this day, this.
I understand.
This is the day.
I understand.
And we're going to plan for the future.
Also, you're talking about parking. Everybody was talking about there's a whole parking garage right down the street down here. I mean, I don't know why it can't be incorporated in the city of Trophy Club if it's not.
Well,
So
it was a couple
maybe you should
million
annex that area as well. That way you can tear down Verispace and put apartments
Thank you.
there.
Your time is up. Thank
I
you
know.
very much.
Thank you.
Mhm, thank you. We appreciate it. It is, anything else, any others, Tammy?
No, ma'am.
We're finished. Okay, any comments, anything?
Yeah, future board member, that's what I got out of it. That's right there.
Watch for the applicants next year, Mike. They open up starting in February, June. February? Whenever. Go online and look at our website, and you'll see the description of each board, and you can apply. We'd like to have you. Okay. 7 o'clock, I'm closing this workshop. Thank you very much. We will reconvene. It's
That was easy.
5 minutes?
5
5
minutes.
minutes.
7:05?
5 minutes.
Randy?